students, welcome to your science class. Students, today we are going to start with our new block. The name of our block is block disease and good health, and the block number is 27. And our today's topic which we will be discussing is the non-communicable diseases. So let's start our class. So we'll need some resources for our class. The resources we need is the S1, that's the worksheet. We need the notebook and the Exceed content book. The keywords which I will be using more frequently in today's class, is the non-communicable, the metabolic, deficiency, and hereditary. So what does non-communicable means? Non-communicable means which in simple words doesn't communicate with each other, or which does not replicate each other. And metabolic means is a mechanism in our body which the basic action which the body performs is called as the metabolic. The third thing is the deficiency. Deficiency means anything which is not available in required amount. That can be anything. For example, deficiency of different kinds of vitamins and other nutrients cause diseases in our body. And last comes is the hereditary. Hereditary means with the disease which is carried from one generation to another generation is called as hereditary. Now the aim of our class is that we will be able to explain why some diseases are called as the non-communicable disease. That is the aim of our class. So the first basic question which comes into our mind when we talk about diseases, what is a disease? So students, to answer that question, a disease is an abnormal conditions in the human body. And why does this happen? So to answer that question, when anything which any of our organs which doesn't perform or doesn't work as it should be, then it causes certain amount of disease, which certain kind of problems in the body, which is called as disease. Now, do disease always spread from one person to another? The answer is no. The all diseases do not transfer from one person to another. For example, heart attack. Heart attack, if a person is suffering from a heart attack, whether you touch that person, whether you sit next to that person, whether you eat food or share your food or water something with that person, you're not going to get heart disease. So that is something which is called as the non-communicable disease. Do disease always spread? So the answer would be no, it does not spread always. Now it's time for our activity. So here is the time for the activity. So we've got a list of disease which we will just have a look into it. So you can see we are talking about beriberi, we are talking about scurvy, we are talking about hypothyroidism, we are talking about goiter, and we are talking about diabetes. Let's first start with beriberi. So students, a lack of vitamin B1 causes beriberi in our body. So what does beriberi specifically means? Beriberi is a kind of disease where it leads to mental retardation. That means the working of brain or the basic working of the brain gets affected because of beriberi. The second problem would be loss of muscle functions. Then we talk about scurvy, which is swollen and bleeding of gums, that is caused by vitamin C. Then there is hypothyroidism, because caused by the malfunctioning of the thyroid gland, which produces thyroxine, which we have learnt in our last class. The next one is the goiter, which is caused by lack of iodine in our body. Can you think of one common example which includes iodine in our body? Yes, that would be the common salt. The next is diabetes, which is caused as improper functioning of the pancreas, which produces insulin hormone. Now, how many groups of disease have you formed? So what basically you have to do is you will have to group the you can group the list the problems or the disease which are there, and you can make it in different groups. So if you can take few minutes to do that. So in the meantime, let me proceed further. How many groups of disease have you formed? So here is the picture of the group of diseases. We are talking about proteins, which is then proteins deficiency, what kind of deficiency it causes, what kind of symptoms it causes. So generally we sorted the diseases into two group. We will put scurvy, beriberi and goiter into one group, and diseases like hypothyroidism and diabetes into the other group. Now first group disease are caused by lack of nutrients. Now, for example, scurvy is caused by vitamin C deficiency, and beriberi by vitamin B1, and goiter by iodine deficiency. Second group of disease are caused when one or more parts in the body do not function properly. For example, diabetes is caused, as I discussed right now, when the pancreas does not produces enough amount of insulin in our body. So what happens is the sugar level in the blood increases and we suffer from diabetes. Similarly, hypothyroidism is caused when thyroid gland produces lower or greater amount. Hypothyroidism, yes, we are talking about lower amount of thyroxine when it is released from the body. Now next comes is the what are the non-communicable disease, and what are the different types of non-communicable disease. Now, next comes is the generalized discussion. So, in generalized, what are the non-communicable diseases? So, and what are the different types of non-communicable diseases? So, non-communicable diseases are diseases which do not spread from one person to another. And like for example, you can talk about diabetes, you can talk about heart attack, you can talk about uh, different other problems that is actually does not that do not get affected because of the communication. So those are termed as the non-communicable disease. What are the different types of non-communicable disease? So if you look into this question, you can see, okay, to answer this question, let me just put. So yes, so the two different types of non-communicable disease are deficiency disease and the metabolic disease. So these are both termed as the non-communicable disease. Now here you can see that, and last comes is the what is the if this question is why are deficiency and metabolic disease are non communicable disease, which is in our next slide. Here it is. So I'll come back to this, and to answer this question, the deficiency diseases are caused by lack of nutrients in the body, and while metabolic diseases occurs because of the improper function of some parts of our body. So that is the reason there is something called as the balanced diet. So it's important for us to have a proper diet. So a meal should comprises of all these nutrients: vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, protein, carbohydrates, and other nutrients and essential salts, so that our body gets whatever is required for its functioning. And deficiency of these, any of these, may lead to some kind of disease. What are hereditary disease, and what are the what are hereditary disease, and what are some of their examples, and why are they called as the non-communicable disease? So students, to answer this question, hereditary disease are those that are passed from one generation to another, which means if the father is suffering from diabetes, then it's naturally, then the child will also suffer from diabetes. If if the mother or the father is suffering from hyperthyroidism, then the child have a great chances of suffering from hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. So these are all termed as the hereditary disease. Now example, we can be diabetes, like as I discussed. So what happens here, it gets passed from one generation to another generation through the genes, but it cannot spread in the random people. For example, if the great grandfather was diabetic, if the grandfather was diabetic, if the father is diabetic, then there are high chances that the child next to the father would be suffering from diabetes. But if the question comes is, if that child friend will also get affected because of this, the answer is no. He will not get affected because of this, because it is a non-communicable disease. So students, this brings us to the question of the day. So deficiency of vitamin B causes. What does deficiency of vitamin B causes is what you have to answer. And our homework would be to do complete S1, complete practice question and additional question 1, 2 and 3 for homework. And just in case if you have any doubts or questions related to today's class, you can reach me through the comment section. So thank you for your time and have a wonderful day ahead.